Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the International Brotherhood of Magicians official podcast. My name's Jason Michaels, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Ben Young, Scott Cantrell. Hello, fellas.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
I feel like the beginning of this podcast is always just a crapshoot. You never know if it's going to go well, if everybody's going to talk over each other, if there's going to be an uncomfortable pause. This is a common theme about the beginning of our podcast. We never know how to start. Next time we should say, okay, I'll go first and then you go and then, but I don't know if you guys would do
We're just gonna edit all this out in post, right?
it. I
I'm
liked your
just waiting for the
comment
next.
right before we started. What did you just say? Like right before we started recording?
Like who are we gonna anger today?
Yes, like
Yeah.
who can we get mad at us? Scott, my man, on our last podcast episode with Michael Close, I feel bad because I feel like I didn't let you talk a lot. So, all right, the
That's just
podcast is
totally,
yours. Just
it's
go for it.
totally, yeah. I mean, for those of you who listen to Michael Close's episode, first of all, go back and listen to it again because it was that good. But yeah, I mean, Ben and Jason just didn't let me talk at all, hardly. And then you have to depend on the podcast guest to come back and say, wait, it's not over yet. Scott hasn't even got to talk, hasn't got to say anything because of these two other guys. They feel entitled because they were on Fool Us already, and so they're the ones that get to talk to Michael Close. Scott hasn't been on Fool Us, so you just kind of you just stay over there to the side, Scott. Just keep quiet, and if we need anything, we'll let you know.
We'll let
And
you
not
know.
only and not only has Scott not been on Fool Us, but as far as I know, hasn't even submitted the trick he was supposed to submit
I
to
did
Fool Us.
submit a trick.
Oh, you did.
I
You
did, but I did it
did.
on the I not only did I submit a trick, I submitted it before the original deadline, before the
Okay.
extension.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I
good.
suppose
So
you want a trophy just for that.
I I thought
Well,
that
this
was how
thing's
it worked.
starting off awfully contentious.
I
This is
thought
this is a tough
I
podcast.
thought when I would submit the thing, that was the goal. I
Yeah.
achieved the goal, and now I want the rewards of just doing the thing I should have been doing all along. Is that not how it works?
Not
I
on this podcast.
apologize. I've had more caffeine today than normal. I got some extra pep in my metaphorical step.
So here's the thing, guys. I always kind of dominate this thing, and I always
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
say, all right, we're going
Ben,
to talk
what I
about
wanted
this.
to talk to you
What do
about
you guys
was
want to talk about?
this is going to be a fun one. What here's let me do come back to the Fool Us thing because I know we made this a thing on like a past episode or whatever, and I've had comments and questions. I I did commit to creating an effect.
Yep.
I did create the effect, many different variations, different parts of it. I did submit, I shot the effect, submitted it. I don't expect to get on the show with what I submitted, just because I know the caliber of the submissions, especially in
Mhm.
these later seasons. You guys were on earlier seasons, and so it's like they're really looking for stuff. But now there's so much. I'm just
Don't
kidding.
look at
I'm
that.
just
That's
kidding. I'm just
wow.
come on, come
Especially
on.
when you guys were on and
Man,
anybody could make it then.
man, I was on season 3,
Ben
and
was
they're
an
casting for
OG.
season 12 right now. And man, I thought when I got on season 3, they'd already run out of people.
Run out of people.
Like,
Yeah.
So I don't expect to get on the show in part because the concept is good. I'm really pleased with the theme and the effect and the idea. I'm not thrilled with the process or handling. The deadline was coming so fast. I just had to make some hard decisions and just do it, right? I'm glad I went ahead and just did it, but I don't think it'll get selected. That said, I continue to work on the piece.
Mhm.
And so the takeaway from the whole Fool Us experience for me hasn't, and actually from the beginning, I may have said this. It's not just about submitting for Fool Us and maybe getting on the show or maybe not. That's great and that's awesome. But it's the process of getting back into the creative mode
Yep.
of developing original material that you can get fired up by and that you like. Like this piece, when it gets when it gets polished and it gets sharper, I can see it going in my show.
Yeah.
And it's a piece I like. It's fun. It's funny. And so now I have this new piece of magic that I'm working on putting in the show. And without Fool Us as the catalyst for that, I would have never created the piece. So that's point one. That was worth the effort by itself. But along the way, I had another thought about another piece of magic, a concept that I'd been playing around with for a number of years, and it kind of coalesced with thinking about it as an option to submit to Fool Us. And I'm not going to tip it right now or talk about it, but this piece I think I'm even more excited about than the one I submitted.
Nice.
And it's a little bit earlier days, although I've performed it twice for audiences in different forms, and it's played really well. So it has legs. And anyway, again, that piece doesn't exist. So Fool Us kind of for me was a catalyst of getting back in this creative space. And that
Yeah,
made
you
it
know
all
what? It's
worthwhile.
That's a fun place to be, as performers, and the three of us perform pretty regularly. Sometimes you just fall back on what you've done a million times because it's just so easy. You know where people are
Yeah.
going to laugh, where they're going to clap, all the moments, exactly how long it's going to last. I mean, you have it all completely worked out. But when you get back to that creative space, that for at least for me is that's a lot of the fun. Like, I mean, obviously we all love performing, but
Yeah.
busting out something brand new that is, fresh and you don't have all the answers to, there's an excitement that you don't get
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah. 100%. Anyway,
And
so
it's
thank
fun
you
to
guys for your
start with.
encouragement.
Hmm.
You're very welcome. It's fun to start with the effect, and have to reverse engineer it, right? You
Yeah.
go, okay, here's what I should do to submit for Fool Us, and then you have to figure it all out, and you get to
Yep.
go through all that fun problem solving, which is similar to what we were talking about with Michael Close on the last
Hmm.
episode.
Yeah.
A
Actually, I
lot of
mean, go
the
ahead.
things that ended up making some of his pieces so iconic to him, or just because he was trying to solve very
Problems.
specific problems. Yeah.
And remember how long he talked about how long it took him to come up with some of these solutions. I mean,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that was kind of interesting where it's like, oh, it took me 10 years to come up with that solution. And we don't always think about that because what we see is we see this finished product and we go, oh,
Right.
wow, look at how genius this idea is. And you don't think about the fact that this person may have started thinking about this 12 years before, and then they came up with something 10 years ago, but it wasn't good enough. And it took them another 10 years to figure out that one thing to make it pop. So,
Yeah.
but I will also say, I mean, you could make the show because, Michael Close, like that's one of the things he does. He fixes things.
Yeah.
So if you say, I'm not thrilled with
Well,
the
he's definitely
handling,
got a lot to work with then,
okay.
with what I shared.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you also, if you wanted to, you could just hire him and he could just
Well,
fix your problem right now.
I am, especially after our conversation previously, I am seriously thinking about it. Fool Us to the side, right? Just to have him work with me on a couple of those pieces because he's gonna obviously he has a wealth of experience I don't, and he sees things I don't, and it's another brain. So yeah, absolutely, it's
Yeah,
definitely on my radar.
yeah, yeah. He so not only did he help me with my foolish piece, and I know that he helped you, Ben, as well, but like I hired him for another piece, and I said briefly about that the other day, but like, I took this other idea that I had, and it's great how he's able to take something, and I think that this is something that not every like coach or creator or consultant does, but I think what he does is he looks at it and he says, okay, he understands what your skill set is.
Right.
Yeah, and he's able to kind of help you hone it in a place where
For you. Yeah.
it's yours and it's for you and it uses the things you're good at. And so yeah, he's tremendous at it. So
Yeah.
all
Maybe
right,
we'll have
Scott.
him back.
All right, Scott, you got another 50 minutes. What else you want to talk about?
I have a book I can recite.
Okay, all right, I got some ideas. Ben, actually, Ben, do you have anything you'd like to talk about? I'm like
Yeah,
very specifically like trying to. I'm gonna let you guys jump in there first.
I've got a book I can recite too.
Oh
Um,
gosh,
Good.
is it mnemonica? Is that the book? We're gonna recite mnemonica for the next
yeah,
45 minutes.
in
If
Spanish.
anybody's ever wanted to learn mnemonica, this is the episode for you.
We just sit there, four of clubs.
Oh.
All right.
So, Jason, did you really come on here with no notes?
No, I have
No,
notes.
he's got
Okay.
I
notes.
just thought to myself, you know what I do? I oftentimes think about like, where do we want this podcast to go? But and you guys are great at coming up with, you
We
riff
wanted
with
to go to
me.
the top of the charts, Jason. Straight to the top of the
Right
charts.
to the top. Well, that may take a while. Uh, but all right. Yeah, hey, so first off, based on when this podcast launches, we're literally right around the corner from the IBM convention. It's literally a week away. So, did you guys know that there are actually, if there have been a few more uh, uh, magicians, there's more talent. There's been a few more people added to the talent list.
Tell us,
Gosh,
Jason.
how
Tell
could
us.
they
Shep
possibly add any more?
Shep Hyken has been added to the talent
No
list.
kidding.
No
That's
kidding. Shep.
fantastic.
I know. Shep is, here's the thing. Shep
I
is
was just
kind of
talking about
legendary.
Shep
He's been
yesterday.
around for a long time, but he's like well known in the speaker world.
Yeah.
And he's like this really well known speaker and author um but he has this magic, background. And I know of Shep through mutual friends whom
Yeah.
we all know. And but he's going to be there. So that's going to be very exciting.
Fantastic.
And then there is an Italian lady named Marella, Mirela, Marella,
Morella. Morella.
Marella. I don't know, but she looks lovely, and I read the description of her act, and it seems like it's going to be fun. But
Very
Benjamin
cool.
Barnes is the talent coordinator, and he just keeps adding more and more people to this talent list, and it just looks like it's going to be a killer convention.
It's gonna be a
So
good one.
yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and it'll be fun to be there with both of you. We're all going to be there. So I probably shouldn't talk about this, but but I mean, why not? We just talk about everything else on the podcast. There is no filter here. There is no, it's like if Jason knows about it, he's probably
That's
going to just,
good because I've got kind of a rash that I
no,
Okay.
no, 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 there is a filter. There's a filter. Um, they were asking me if we wanted to do a podcast recording at the convention. Do you guys want to do that? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
I,
yeah,
I, I kind of want
absolutely.
to do it, but I don't know technically how to do it. Like, it's like we're going to have to research how to pull this off. But I think it would be fun to do a podcast episode, like in the main room where we just all do what we
Yeah, we
do.
could do it after hours or of course it could be late. But yeah, I'm all for it. I think it would be fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
folks, if you want us to do a recording from the actual IBM convention, leave us some notes. Shoot us a message. Leave us some notes on whether you're listening, wherever you're listening to this. If you're on social media, let us know what type of questions you would want us to talk about. So, uh, all right. So let's dive into one or two of the subjects that I wrote down. Okay, I'm just going to say. I'm not sure we
All
should talk about this, but
right.
whatever. Let's do it anyway. So the other day, I'm not proud of this. I'm not, although I'm smiling. The other day, I lost it on a spectator.
Oh,
I lost it.
how did I miss this?
I mean, I went off
Can
on this guy. But here's what the deal was. I was performing
Okay.
magic. It was at a certain magic venue that we're all familiar with. Um, and this guy came up and he was with a group, and from the moment he sat down, from the smart things that the smart aleck type of things he was saying, to the way that he was trying to help, I say help in quotations because there was no help. He was being a world class jerk. And I after like the first, I nailed it from the guy. I knew what I was working with. And then
Yeah.
he just kept going, and it got on my nerves. And then he went a little bit further, and for whatever reason I was not in the mood. And I literally came out from behind the table. I started yelling at him, and I was like, "Do you want to do this? Do you want to come back here and do what I'm doing? Because the way you're acting, you can come over here and do what I'm doing right now. Do you want to do this?" And I mean, he just completely was like, "What? Okay, I just screwed up here because this guy is pissed." And I was so irate. Now, on the one hand, I thought, yeah, all right, good for me.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's been something that I've been thinking about for a while now. And I think to myself, why did you let some doofus
Yeah.
do that to you? Aren't we supposed to be a little bit more clever than, your random spectator? Aren't we supposed to be able to finesse and move around stuff like that? I should have Aikido the guy with his own energy, use his energy against him or whatever. So On the one hand, I was really happy that I did it because I just wasn't in the mood, and he just happened to, sometimes
Wrong,
that, but on
wrong
the other
time.
hand, I just think to myself, did I just totally did I just totally screw up? What do you guys think?
Listen, he's not going to forget your act anytime soon. He's going to remember that experience the rest of his life, Jason. Isn't that what our charge is as a magician, is to create these memorable experiences that live with
Memorable.
people for the rest of their life? Jason, I think you nailed it. I think you got it. Mission
Got it.
accomplished.
Yep.
Ben, thoughts?
I couldn't have put it better myself. Yeah, that's certainly not how I would have dealt with it, being Mr. Non-confrontational.
Yeah.
I would have met him with passive aggression and sarcasm, and
That's
then
interesting. That's
and then
interesting.
probably cut the set a little bit short,
Yeah.
and
I
and
think
said and drive home safe.
I like how you kind of put the wink on safe. I hope you get home safe tonight. Um, be careful out there.
Okay, but hang on. All right. So let's take this for a second. Because on the one hand, I get it. And I agree with you, Ben. I'm like, yeah, that that makes sense. If somebody's going to very actively appear to not want to enjoy the experience, then why are we even doing it for them? So just
Yep.
like you said, cut it short. I get it. But at the same time, um, I don't know. There's another side of me that's like, there was a group of people. They wanted to have fun. This guy just happened to be a dick. So why not shut him down and shut him down hard so that everybody can see, okay, don't mess with this magician and
Yeah.
just absolutely blast him. And
What had
then
so go ahead, sorry.
turn to everybody else and just have a blast. And that is actually what happened. Like I
I was
blasted
going
this
to ask.
guy, and then
Hmm.
what happened was I paid him zero attention. He was in the front row, dead center. I didn't look at him again. I didn't have him do anything. I worked completely around him. I worked for everybody else, and they all had a blast. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think about this, and on the one hand, I do very much feel like we should try to be a little bit graceful, and we should just kind of let people, meet us where we are. But on the other hand, I don't think we should allow people to screw up the experience for
For
both
everybody.
magician or spectator.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I think it's a continuum, right? And so you've got at one end of the continuum, you have the perfect audience. Define that as you will for your own work. On the other end, you have, the audience from hell. Define that as you will. And then within an audience, you may have people at different points along that line, right? Especially in a close-up environment, where there is so much engagement and there is interactivity, and people, for whatever reason, feel freer, in part because of just the nature of the space. They feel free, and you're engaging them. They're feel freer to engage back. Some people don't know how to do that. Some people had too much to drink. Some people are trying to show off and they get it wrong. Whatever it may be. But I think, I don't know of. I, I guess there are, of course, there are certainly inappropriate ways to handle a heckler, right? There are bad answers to that. I don't know that I would qualify your reaction as a bad one, in any shape, form, or fashion. I think, clearly, if you went back, you did your set, everybody else enjoyed it. I don't care about that guy anymore.
Yeah.
Then that's a win.
Hmm.
Um, on the flip side, if I was in that position, because I have been, not with that guy maybe, but um, I guess what I'm really trying to say is I don't think there's one right answer. I may have
Hmm.
said this before on the podcast, but my business coach says I like to live in a world where there's more than one right answer. And in this case, I think there's more than one right answer. I think it depends on the moment. I think it depends on the other people. I think it depends on the magician. I think it depends on, so many things as to what works for that performer in that moment and how he or she should react to that situation. As a default, Ben and I are kind of cut from the same cloth there, and you too, Jason, in most instances, until the Incredible Hulk comes out. But we'll either ignore the person, or celebrate. I call it celebrating the heckler, right? Give them the attention they want, but maybe in a funny or sarcastic way, or by making them the butt of the joke, like happens at comedy clubs. Usually, that's all they want. They want the attention, and then they'll not necessarily quiet down, but they'll not fight you on anything, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but I remember doing a stage show. This was one of my first big corporate shows after I came to Nashville. At the time, it was the most money I'd ever gotten for one show. So
How old were you about?
pressure was on. I would have been
Oh, okay.
18 or 19.
Okay. Gotcha.
Um, Pressure was on. I did what I had always done, and I asked the organizer who would be good on stage, who would
Mm.
like to have fun on stage. Since then, I've been very specific with my wording because of this instance. But I got this guy on stage, and I don't even remember the magic I was doing for him specifically. Um, he fought me every turn. I needed him
Mm.
to hold something, and he would set it on the ground. I needed him to smile, and he would frown. I needed him to lean back in the chair that he was in, and he stood up or leaned forward. I needed him to shift the chair over, and he moved it the other way. I mean, it was like we had rehearsed how to screw up the act,
Yep.
and
Yep.
he was doing it perfectly. Um, I think I think this was a I think I can't remember if I did this in this show or it might have been a different one, but I'm pretty sure the idea came to me in this show. I had water, like a glass of water, and I would drink it obviously during the show. But I had this idea of taking fingers of water and just throwing them at the guy like he's a cat doing something wrong. And of course, people have spray bottles now, which is a funny gag. But I think I did that to him, and he didn't like that. Um,
No kidding.
he did not like that. The guy was like the second in command of the whole room. He was
Oh,
like the
okay.
second
There you go.
executive, and he's trying
That
to
pretty
show off. And
much.
of course, he's just looking like an idiot.
Yep.
I'm a 19-year-old kid, by the way, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I I just in that instance I didn't have enough I had a lot of experience, but I didn't have enough experience in that particular situation. I felt the pressure of the show on
Mm.
me. I just barreled through it. I just got through it. And I didn't have a bunch of jokes. May have done the water thing. I don't know if I did, but anyway, I just got through it. And that was the right answer for me at the time, but it was the best I could do. And so
Yeah.
I think if you sometimes maybe you have to we may get comments on this. I'd be interested to hear what the audience has to say. I think sometimes you just kind of have to let the audience have it or let the audience member have it, and explain to them that they're ruining it for everybody and you don't want that to happen. Most
Hmm.
of the time, though, I try to use sarcasm or comedy or give them a little attention. And then I will also I will also empower the rest of the audience to turn on the person. So I will say,
Okay.
"Can you guys help me with this?" And I'll look directly to to his friends or her friends, and I'll
Mm.
say, "Hey, can you guys help me with this?" And it's a joke, but they get the message, right? And usually the
Hmm.
person does too, but not always. So a few little tricks and tactics, but again, I don't think that what you did was inherently right or inherently wrong. I think it was probably necessary in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, it
Ben,
it
what?
sounds like you're having a lot of big feelings about it because you feel like you lost control. Is that right? Did you
Yeah.
feel like maybe yeah,
Well, I mean,
y-
it's weird because on the one hand, I feel like I was perfectly justified, but on the other hand, as the magician, I think about like what does that mean to me? Like, I mean, in different people, who they are on stage will have a different answer for this as to how they handle this. But who do I want to be? Do I want to be the guy that comes back as hard as I can at the Spectator? I've never been that guy. Like, it's not who I want to be. I would much prefer to be the guy who kind of takes whatever he's given me and kind of like maneuvers it. So yeah, I don't know if I would say that I feel guilty, but I just kind of think to myself, maybe I should have handled it better.
well, that guy's wondering the same thing.
That's true. That's a good point, man.
um,
Jason, I would say you handled it fine until, somebody had to call the police. And after that,
that
it
did
might have
not
Yeah.
been a little bit.
happen. That
That,
did not. There was no police. So what about you, Ben? Has this ever happened to you? I mean, I know you've gotten people that are difficult. So maybe
Yeah.
you haven't gone off on them, but how have you handled it?
Well, Yeah, I tend to try to ignore them as much as possible, um, so that they just sort of they don't get the energy back. Um, and I'll make little snide comments, like what Scott was saying about turning the other people against them too is really great. It's like looking at the people they're with and being like, is he always like this?
Right.
Hmm.
Like, why did you bring him out today? Like, um, and that kind of thing can be enough to where they start nudging him and go like, shut up, dude. Like, if he starts doing it again.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then at least I think there's something to be said for at least acknowledging what's going on so
Right.
that the
Right.
rest of the audience, doesn't have this thing going in their head of like, wow, like the magician's like really taking it, from this guy a lot. Like if there's something where you're acknowledging, hey, you're not being cool, then at least even if they try to keep chiming in, the whole audience is like, okay, we're all aware that we don't like this guy,
Right.
and he's
Right.
not fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I agree with the things Scott said too. So
Is there a difference in a close-up setting versus a stage setting? Because I think there would be, as far as because when you have a stage setting or a stand-up, when you have a
mhm,
whatever 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, whatever, there is a different social dynamic
Yeah.
versus four people and you're standing there doing close-up
mhm,
magic for them. I mean, it's a different vibe. The whole
100%.
dynamic of the social experience is different.
Yeah, of course, yes, it's very different. I think in a sociological or psychological way, it's the same thing happening, right? So the reason or motivation for the person to heckle is the same in both environments, I think. Um, and the feeling of the audience who is around and can hear that person, right? Which in a close-up environment, it's everybody. In a parlor, it's most everybody. In a bigger stage, it's, 20 or 30 people. Um, their experience is the same in terms of how they feel and this weird dynamic now that's going on between the performer, this heckler, the people around them. I think psychologically it's all the same, but how it's handled and what you have to do to diffuse it, I think, well, can be similar or the same, but it's a different thing if you're in front of 200 people and you got someone in the fourth row who is heckling you and you know that those people around can hear, but the people in the back maybe can't. They know something's going on, but they don't know what. Kind of to Ben's point, you need to shine a light, not to give them attention, but shine a light so that the audience understands what's going on, so that when you deal with it, however you choose to deal with it, the audience understands what's happening and why. And so kind of bringing everybody to the same place before you do whatever you do, I think is important. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
so dynamically, it's different. It's sometimes ignoring a person in a bigger room is much easier, obviously, and they will ultimately get drowned out. And they'll go away fast. It's easier for someone to get lost in a bigger room, obviously,
mhm.
than a smaller environment. But it also sometimes gives them license to be bigger, to be louder,
Yeah,
because they have a
it's
bigger
true.
room to fill.
Yeah.
And in that instance, then you have to do what you do. I had a theory. Uh, I did a lecture a long time ago called "Breaking Through the Fourth Wall." Jason, you may remember this.
Yeah, I do.
Um, and I have a section in there about hecklers, and some of what we've already talked about is in there. But I used the word celebrate, but the other word I used in the notes was embrace the heckler. So I was doing the lecture for a group of magicians, and I had someone start to heckle me, and I was teaching this idea as a metaphor, but I did it literally. And so when this person started to heckle me, I just kind of stopped my act. I went over to him, I asked him to stand up, and I gave them a hug. So I literally embraced the heckler. And then I said, "Would you all please give this person a round of applause?" And I had them sit down and I went back. And I'm not suggesting that's the right answer, but it just makes the point that if you can pull the rug out from under the person heckling,
Yeah,
all of a sudden there's nowhere that person has nowhere to go now,
Hmm.
right? There's
Right.
nothing they can, I mean, I guess somebody who's totally drunk and totally out of it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just people who are trying to be the center of attention. If
Yep.
you can make them the center of attention for a moment, even in a funny way or a derogatory way that's playful, or by making them a center of attention with their friends, like Ben was talking about, letting the audience turn on them. If you can do any one of those things, you're pulling the rug out from under them a little bit, and it doesn't leave them anywhere to go. And so I kind of call that's the giving them that attention, shining that spotlight is kind of like embracing the heckler. You
Hmm.
can get really fun moments. I mean, you guys have these stories too. Some of the funniest things that have ever happened in my shows have come from a heckler who was trying to heckle, but either I got a zinger in, or another audience member got a zinger in, or or the heckler actually said something funny. And you get these live entertainment moments that people remember that are really, really special that would not have occurred without the heckler. I'm not suggesting I want more hecklers. I'm simply suggesting, there can be gold in them hills if you're willing to mine it a little bit.
Yeah.
But there is a line, and that line ends at disrespect. So when that heckler intentionally or knowingly, I should say knowingly, not necessarily intentionally, but knowingly is crossing that line. I mean, they may not have known the first time, but you've told them, and now they cross it again. Now they did it knowingly. At that point, I think it's fair to stop and address them
Escalate.
or deal with them. Right. It's escalated to a point where, as the heckler escalates and your tricks don't work, well, not your magic tricks, but the embracing the heckler tricks don't work, then you can escalate your response. To the point where I've seen people taken out of theaters who were heckling, like physically removed, because that was the only choice that remained. So
Hmm.
the show
Hmm.
stops, they get taken out. The show maybe continues or maybe it doesn't. So
I'm convinced that hugging a heckler might be the greatest heckler stopper I've ever heard in my life.
try it, Ben. See what happens.
That's wait, what a crazy pattern interrupt.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is.
Like, I mean, if I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, if the magician stopped what they were doing, came over and hugged me, I would be stunned.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That is so great. And it's
Yeah,
also worth, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but it's worth, sort of defining what heckler is, because I know what
good point.
the situation Jason was talking about was someone that was really trying to make everything difficult.
Disrupt.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's not always the case.
correct.
And I see this at House of Cards a lot, like in the showroom, because people are drinking and they decide to start saying things, and it's a small showroom, and so everybody can hear everything. And I'll have people after the show be like, "Wow, you really dealt with those hecklers well." I'm like, "What heck? There was no heckler. Like,
Right,
no one was trying to make my life difficult. They were enthusiastically participating. They
right,
just wanted to be
right.
part of it. And so they're making the comments that they think are funny or whatever, but they're not actually trying to ruin my show. They just want to
Give you a hard
participate.
time for the hard time's sake. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I love playing with that because, like you said, like sometimes they say funny stuff and sometimes it gives you ideas. And
Oh
it
yeah.
also shows the audience that you're in the moment. If you
right,
can acknowledge them, and if you can have a quip back to them, even if it's not shutting them down, right? Because sometimes
right,
you let them, go for a little
right.
bit and see what they come up with. But just being like in the moment where like, yep, he acknowledged that person, whatever. That to me is totally fine. It's when they're trying to like actually make things difficult, which happens in the close-up situations, can
You know,
be
so
not as fun.
you just
Great
reminded, I
point.
mean, if you at this point in time, at this moment in time, a lot of the things that over the last year that I've seen on social media regarding comedy has been these people doing crowd work.
Crowd work. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's very popular. Like Matt Rife,
yeah.
I think has
That's
made
his
an
whole
entire
show.
career off of
Yeah,
crowd work.
yeah.
So
Lucy Darling now,
Lucy
right?
Darling,
I mean, she's a spectacular talent without the crowd work. She doesn't need it to be good, but she's excellent at it, and it makes the show so genuinely real and organic and funny, and relatable. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but another good example.
no, 100%. No, but I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but would you agree that instead of viewing a heckler, and I use that term in like, okay, so right now I'm specifically talking about on stage. I'm not talking about close up, but I mean, I don't know if it would. if it would work for a close up, but we're talking about on stage. We're talking about in a stand up situation, whatever, for a group of people.
Hmm.
If you choose instead of to shut down, quote unquote, the heckler, but instead to like take your idea, let's embrace the heckler. I'm not talking about literally embrace, but I'm talking about
Yeah.
let's make a comment, because how often have you guys found that when you say something that is very in the moment, the audience really,
Oh,
really loves it and big time responds?
100%. Yeah, because they're seeing something real that is unique to them, or at least they perceive as completely unique to them. It's why,
Hmm.
the best magicians on the planet have these moments that maybe once were an accident, but every other of the 10,000 times they've done them aren't accidental anymore because it feels like it's in the moment. It's real, and that's what audiences respond to. Audiences want to see. They don't want to see failure of the magician, but they want to see an experience that no one else has seen before. Right? They want to see that moment that, wow, I can't believe that happened. If you remember when that happened, that was hilarious. I couldn't
Hmm.
believe he got out of that. Or did you hear what he said? And it feels real and raw and unique.
It's more that they don't want to see the failure of the magician. They want to see you become triumphant.
There
You
you
know,
go.
like
That's a
Yeah.
great,
like
yes, yes.
oh, there was something weird or something went wrong or whatever, and look how they handled it. Look how
Yeah.
they,
Right.
turned it around, and it still was great. Like tiny example of just being in the moment. I had a show this weekend, at like an Airbnb, a small group, and like during
That's where you got your rash? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
I just thought maybe it could be. I don't know.
You
come
get
here,
some get
Scott.
some you
Yeah,
Come
need
yeah.
here.
some
Give
sort
me
of
a,
Come here.
you
Come
need
here.
like
Everyone
some
give Scott a big
cream or
round of
some you
applause.
need some ointment for that rash. Take care of
uh,
that, man.
I'm
Like a
sorry. Okay,
topical.
you're at an Airbnb doing a gig.
Well, now I'm ashamed to share the story. Uh, no, and it's not even a great example, but it's just a small one. But during a trick, one person got the munchies and literally like stood up and went over and got a snack and sat back down and is eating chips like loudly, like right next to me.
Crunch.
And
Crunch.
then I'm doing a trick, another one, and one of the women goes, I need to get my glasses for this, which of course I said the line. I'm like, well, thanks for like, watching half the magic show without your glasses on. But she goes, I have to go to another room. Like the glasses are not, no pun intended, they're not in sight. Okay. So she had to go and get it. So I kind of like pause. I'm like holding the object. It's with a pen. I'm just like holding the pen. I'm like waiting, and there's like munching happening over here. She leaves and gets the glasses, or and comes back. And in this routine, I talk about how the way that magic works is that in the offbeat is when we do the sneaky move, when you're not paying attention. And so I normally say when you're like laughing, clapping, reacting to magic, that's when you're not paying attention. But in this one, I said, so when you're laughing, clapping, reacting, getting a snack, getting your glasses, that's when we do the magic moment. And I mean, they all lost it because it was
Yeah.
just like, right. It was so immediate. I mean, she
Yeah,
had
it's
just put her
perfect.
glasses on, like, and they weren't trying to heckle or anything like that, but it's just one of
Right.
those examples of like just being in the moment,
Yeah.
going with the flow, be
That's
triumphant,
that's
have the
perfect.
cards right themselves.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
But to that point, I'd love to speak to the magicians out there um, that are so on script and they're so like logged into what they're going to say. And in a very real sense, I feel like I'm talking to a version of me from the past, because that's very much how I used to be. Where it's like, I know what I'm going to say, I know what comes next. Don't interrupt me. It's like we're this train has left the left
Right.
the thing, and it's on the tracks,
Station.
the station. So to those of to those of you, the magicians out there that are listening, take a note, because the idea of sort of being in that moment right there, that I mean, my goodness, you can get some just really memorable, fun moments when you and to a certain extent, for people like me who are like tend to be heavily scripted, or at least that was the way I used to be, the idea of kind of riffing is almost a little terrifying, because it's like you have no idea what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's extremely exciting. Like it's this like, let's see where this goes. And the other thing I will mention is that the more that you do this, the better you will get at learning
Yeah.
how to respond to situations. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
like a muscle that goes from being weak to being strong. The more, you know, Scott, you have improv
Mhm.
background. You took a bunch of improv class. So like you are all about embracing the moment and going wherever it goes and yes and all of that stuff. And then Ben, you just happen to be kind of funny
I'm
naturally.
just so good. I'm just so
You're just so
good.
naturally
Pretty
pretty
good.
funny guy. So like
Pretty good.
you guys are good at being in the moment and it's fun. And so I have seen that because of friends of mine that I've hung out with and I've had to learn how to do that. And it does make the show a lot of fun. Even more fun than you were having prior.
And just a quick corollary to that, I think it's important. The Everybody has a script, whether it's planned, rehearsed, written down or not. Whatever you
Mhm.
say is your script.
Mhm.
What Jason's, I want to make sure this point is made because this point I didn't get until later on in my career, and then I got it, and it made a massive difference. And that is being heavily scripted is not a bad thing. Being heavily scripted is a very, very good thing. What Jason's talking about is being willing to leave the script when the moment happens and being vigilant to it and letting yourself leave the script to embrace that moment, take it wherever it goes, and then return when it makes sense to return to the script. And the piece that for a long time that I missed was this idea of intentionally scripting the routine and letting that be the road that you're on. Take the detours that you want to take along the way, improv and riff and ad lib and do those fun things. But now you've got a road to return to so that you can still optimize everything you need to optimize in terms of the routine itself. And that's the piece I had. I was all detours or largely detours early in my career. And it was fun, and it was chaotic, and it was zany, but I didn't get the optimal responses from the routines that I could have gotten if I had also been scripted and still willing to take the detours. So to use the phrase again, it's not either or, it's yes and.
Wow.
See what I
Way to
did there?
circle it. Way to that
See what I
was
did?
got chills
Nice.
and a rash. Jeez. Um
You need to see a doctor, Ben.
I and it's such a good note. And the thing is, ad-libbing and riffing and all of that, it is taking a risk, right?
Yeah,
And this kind of goes back to the like they want to see you be triumphant. And taking little risks like that, the thing is when you have it scripted and you know where you're going,
right.
the risk is so much lower because if it flops, if the comment about the glasses had flopped, okay, so what? We're still I know where we're going after this. It's okay. You're not just sort of dead in the water because uh you sort of went out there without a net. But did I just say dead in the water and you're out there without a net? I don't
We'll
sometimes
work on the
metaphors are
metaphors, Ben.
just
It's okay.
yeah. Yeah,
I
I,
do
I don't
like
know.
I do like the point though of not that sort of the idea that if you say a line and it doesn't get a laugh, not looking at it as though it's a failure
Right.
because I think that would be the thing that earlier version of Jason would have been, well, I don't want to do that. What if I say something that I think is funny and they just look at me like I'm an idiot? I look
That's a
like a
beautiful
fool.
moment, Jason. That becomes a beautiful moment. I live for those moments.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? There is, but you learn sort of how to embrace certain moments like that, and like there is something fun about that. To Ben's point, if you have direction as to where you're going, and you say something that doesn't land, they're not going to remember that. Like not in the
Correct.
long term. Not in the long term. I mean, what they're going to remember is the magic that happened or that
The
funny
line
thing
that did it.
that they said. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I I call this the 96-4 ratio. And so it's a little exaggerated, but not much. So in my shows, even still today, I may do a little bit less improv in my shows now than I used to, but still, I'll say 100 things that are off script that I think are funny or cute or clever or whatever, right? 96 of them, nothing. Audience crickets, no meaningful reaction, whatever. but the four are killers. The four
Mm-hmm.
things I say bring those other four bring the house down, and they remember the four and they forget the 96. And so you can say 100 things and not feel too bad about the 96 because the four are going to hit and you're going to, that's what they're going to care about. Remember,
But what's interesting about that is that you can't come up with those four moments if you don't try all the
all
rest of them.
100. Yeah.
So I
Right.
mean, if you're like trying to get to a point where you're like, I want the very best show I possibly can, I want it to have all these great moments. Well, you have to try a lot of stuff. You have to be
Yeah.
willing to kind of like experiment a little bit and take risk to get those, and then okay, this routine now has four killer moments. And if I had four killer laughs in every routine that I have, and then all of a sudden your show is not only full
World
of great
class.
magic, but it's full of
Yeah.
a ton of laughter. That's quite a goal to aim for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, kind of thinking about it from this point of view of being in the moment and kind of being willing to go quote unquote off script. Now, I think that one of the reasons people like close up magic as much as they do is because the magic oftentimes happens directly to them, like it happens in their hands, like they're directly participating. But do you think that another reason why people like close up magic as much as they do is because it feels more conversational
Mm.
as opposed to and it feels more like we're actually legitimately talking to the magician and the magician is answering our questions as opposed to a stage performance where oftentimes that does not feel like a conversation. Any thoughts on this?
I think it was a yes or no question, right? I'll just say yes.
Well, yeah,
I'll
Yeah.
say yes.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. I
No,
love it
I
when
mean,
I
this happened yesterday. Uh, there was a group I was performing for, and like I would finish a trick, and where I know where I'm going next, right? And I have these transitions to get into the next pieces. But one of the guys just like would ask me a question about like, how long have you been in magic? How'd you get
mm-hmm,
into it? And he, like literally just in between tricks.
Yeah.
And that's not something you get on stage. So I do think that it's impactful for people to be able to have that intimacy and to be able to have conversations with the performer.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Ben said. And part of it, to Ben's point, we ask, people come up to us and say, "Oh, the show was great, but I really love the sleight of hand and close-up stuff." Or my favorite type of magic is the close-up sleight of hand stuff because it happens right there. And
mm-hmm,
and I think there's a meaningful level of truth to that, right? It's happening in their hands, it's happening a foot away from their face. I think that's all true. But I think that real impact of close-up magic is more about what Ben was describing, and that is about the relationship between the spectator and the performer and the magic in that moment, right?
mm-hmm,
It is more intimate, it is more personal. In some cases, it is more customized or even unique because that specific experience isn't going to happen again.
mm-hmm,
How this spectator answered that question is different than how the next spectator is going to answer the same question. Whereas in a large group, the show is often, maybe identical. And even though the magic may be largely identical, even a close up set, you have the opportunity for that relationship to exist. So even if the magic is the same, the experience is totally more unique and more personal. And I think that as much as anything is the reason why spectators say, I really like the close up magic. That sleight of hand stuff's my favorite. Yeah,
yeah,
the magic is happening right here in front of your face, but I think it's as much about the intimacy and closeness of the relationship than anything else.
mm-hmm, yeah. So, how do you all handle getting the same question asked to you over and over and over and over again?
I
Because
get out of my chair and I get in their face and I say, "What are you doing? You're disrupting this for everybody else. Don't ask me any questions. These people are trying to watch the magic and I'm just trying to do my show. Do you think you can do it better? If you think you can do it better, you get up here and do it. Is
get
that what
up
you want to
here,
do?"
get up
That's how I handle it. What do you guys do?
here. Let me, okay, well, okay, that's very funny. Do you like it? Do you like it when, I mean,
Yeah.
is it fun for you when you get the questions and you know that this is a question you've gotten 1,000 times, but this is the first time this person has asked it? What's your approach? What's your approach to that? Do you like, are you pleased to answer those questions? Do you just kind of go, okay, let me just give them the short answer and move on? Do you legitimately, because I've gotten to a point where I'm like ready to like, okay, let me lean back in this chair and let's talk. Let's just have
I
a
love it.
conversation because this is interesting to me. Because you're legitimately showing interest in me as a person and not just the tricks that I'm doing. And I love it when people say, "Wow, your tricks are amazing," or "How did you do that?" That's always fun as a magician to get those responses. But I've gotten to a point now where when someone wants to know more about me and my process and you know, of course, how many times have you been asked how did you how did you get into magic? And that is
Yeah.
probably the most common question any magician gets asked. But like that, like that's an opportunity for you to make a connection with somebody outside of just doing a trick. How do you guys
Yeah.
approach that?
Sometimes it varies. Sometimes I find that I don't really feel like answering that one because that question is what happens the most or what people ask the most. So it depends on the person. Sometimes I give them the really short answer, sometimes I give them the longer answer. But what is to me more interesting is the questions that come after that one. That's always the first one. But then when they start asking other questions about being a magician, how you create magic, you know, do you do this, like full time? Do magicians share secrets with each other? When you start, is there a secret magic organization? And then we get to talk about the IBM and all that. Like that's where things, really kind of pulling the help me with the metaphor, Scott, pulling the not curtain, but like
The veil,
layers.
the
The
veil.
I
veil,
don't know. Wait,
the curtain,
if you're listening right now, put in the
peeling back the
comments.
onion.
Yeah, fine.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's
the
an onion
onion,
reference.
the magic onion, and
Scooping
so those
into
are
the
the questions that are
parfait.
more
Come on.
interesting to me. Is when we get past that first one of how did you get into it? Just because you get asked it so much, you get a little tired of your own origin story. But after that, seeing what other questions they have about magic specifically is very, very interesting. And I've been doing this at like these house party shows that I do. I kind of open it up at the end and say, "Do you have any questions you wanted to ask a magician? Anything except for how did you do that
That's
is
fun.
is fair game." And it is amazing the type of questions that people ask that I wouldn't have thought of. I mean, yes, they ask the ones that you would think, the ones that we've already talked about, but then someone will go, "So like, do I need to be worried about like the doves?" Okay,
Great
like
question.
let's talk about this, and I kind of dance around, I don't want to expose too much, but I go, yeah, like they're okay, like they're pets, they're loved, like they're taken care of. But that's the kind of thing that as magicians we don't think about often. So for
Hmm.
me, that's the fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will concur. And I think I kind of have the same reaction as Ben said. Sometimes I feel like that conversation's fun and let's have it. Other times I might just be tired or I might need to move on to the next group or
Right. Yeah.
whatever. And I always appreciate the question, right? And I appreciate the intent behind the question because it shows that someone's interested and engaged, and that's appreciated. At the same time, I think oftentimes I'll lean back like you described, Jason, and just dive into the conversation. Here's a note: if you get tired of telling your origin story too often, just come up with a new origin story, and then it's fresh again. So there you go, Ben. That is the solution. How did you get started in magic? You look this way, you look that way, you lean in and say, "Funny you should ask." And then you just go, "There you go. There's the
There you go.
story."
Okay. Authenticity is
What was it? Yeah, what was it we were talking about with Michael Close on the last episode about nuggets of truth
Well, no,
and how
you put in nuggets of truth into the story,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
everything else is, license,
Mhm.
poetic license.
Poetic license. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow, this has been a
We're
fun
entertainers,
conversation.
baby. We're storytellers.
We are story. Yeah, it's true. It's true. This has been a fun little chat we've had. We have a couple of minutes left before our time is up. But hey, I will say, and this is I don't even know why I'm saying this, but this is the last podcast that I do before I'm
I,
the international
I
president
was
of the
I
IBM.
was so glad you got to
Oh
say this because I was
gosh.
going to say this too. This is the, yeah, this is it. This is it. So this is Jason before presidency. The
Yep.
next episode will be post
Bling
after, not after presidency, but during presidency.
during
And so
presidency.
I don't know how his demeanor is going to change.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know if he's going to be like, I don't know. I'm excited about it though. President Jason.
Oh gosh. It's one of those things I know it's a big deal and I'm
It
actually
is a
very
big deal.
excited about it, but at the same time, like there's a part of me is very much plays stuff like that down where it's like I don't know why I do this, but it's like it's not that big of a deal. But it is actually a really big deal. It's a quite an honor to have the opportunity. So let me ask this question as we start to wrap up. Do you guys think I should go out? You know me, you know my magic, you know the type of performer I am, the type of audiences I work for. Do you think I should go out and do some lectures or like some sort of a lecture tour for I.B.M rings? And it's okay to say no, Ben shaking his head no. But if you say yes, like give, think of one thing that you would be like, since you know me so well, both of you, one thing that if you were like, okay, I would love to, if I didn't know Jason very well with all his experience, I would love to hear him talk about this. So, should I go out? Should I reach out to some IBM rings, maybe some other magic organizations, and try to put together some lectures to some magic clubs? What do you think?
I'll let Ben go last this time. The answer is yes. Perhaps I'm a little biased, but the answer is yes. And I know you said one thing. I'm going to name three things: development of character, producing a show. Like it could be a close-up show, it could be a large stage show, but you've done it all, and you've been part of big shows too, right? You've done
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yep.
So like putting together a show, producing a show. And then authenticity, being willing to be vulnerable on stage. Um, and yeah, I think you have massive expertise in all three of those things, and all three of those things, the magic world could absolutely benefit more, could benefit from by knowing them more.
Cool. Thank you.
I was only shaking my head in jest.
I kind of figured.
I agree. You should do it. And authenticity is exactly what I was thinking as well. Um,
That's interesting. Both of you think that authenticity is, would you say that's one of my strong suits? I guess that is what you think one of my strong suits
Yeah,
is,
it's
since
it's
you both said that.
yeah.
in the recent years you've done a masterful job of incorporating your life, your story, your experience into your work, and integrating those. And that's not always easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, for all the same reasons why you didn't do it early on, right? It
Right.
wasn't easy to do for different reasons. Some practical, some not as practical, right? Some internal. So help if we can elevate the conversation that magic has between a magician and an audience, that is about as good as it gets in terms of perpetuating magic as an art form. And I believe that when someone injects themselves and their story and their life experience into their work as a magician, we're elevating the conversation. And that means the art itself is elevated. That can't be a bad thing.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
And as a worker, I think you've got a lot, and and I've done shows with you in a lot of different situations. I think you have a lot of valuable. Are you happy hearing us just say all these nice things about you? I I think you've got a lot of valuable insights about performing in the real world for real audiences, and I think that's something that people would get a lot out of.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
A lot
and
of
there's also
practical advice.
and to that end, that not only is would there be tremendous insight from that aspect of your lecture, but the stories are really entertaining and funny. I mean, I- Ben, you and I have worked together a little bit. Jason, you and I have worked together a lot. Ben, you and Jason worked together a lot. I don't think there's any type of venue that I haven't performed with Jason at or in. And I'm sure the same is true for your Ben.
Yeah,
We've been in
yeah.
every imaginable, reasonable venue. And so you have experience in all of those settings, and you could speak to that, and that would be a really fun lecture to hear.
Cool. Well, if you are in charge of your lecture series for your Magic Club, reach out to the I.B.M podcast and see if you can get Jason Michaels and the guys. Maybe we'll all come and do a
We could come
lecture
do an
for you.
episode at your ring,
That could be fun. Hey, I
and
just
we
got
could do
that.
a
What
public
a fun
show and a
idea that
lecture.
is. Actually, how fun would that be?
Oh,
Like
a
we'll
podcast episode, a lecture,
podcast
and a
episode
public
lecture
show.
show. That's actually strong. I like that. Send us a note. Let us know if you want to do that. We will figure out how to make that work. Hey, listen, folks, seriously, the IBM convention is next week. And if you are anywhere near St. Louis or you're going to be anywhere St. Louis, July 22nd through 25th, you should show up. So, and I'll tell you a couple of things. Number one, you don't have to attend the entire convention. They do sell. We are selling like day passes. So if you're a magician and you want to just go for the day, you can go just for a day. That is a thing. We're also have show tickets. So there are a number of shows that are open to the public. You do not have to be registered for the convention to purchase a show ticket. So I think there's 5 different shows, a couple of competitions, a couple of different shows, a one-man show. Andrew Goldenhirsch's one-man show. So really cool stuff. And if you love magic and if you're within a couple hours drive, I highly recommend that you check out the convention at magician.org, and then it's /convention, magician.org /convention. Learn more about it. Check out all the different talent. Lots of great people are going to be there, including the 3 of us. And it was a lot of fun chatting with you guys today. This was a fun one.
Blast.
We've had a lot of guests on, which I always enjoy, but I always enjoy these conversations with you guys. So thanks very much, fellas. All
Thanks,
right.
Jason.
You're
Congrats
welcome.
on becoming president.
All right. Next time I'll have
Yeah, you got to
the
wear the
big
chain the
thing. I'll
next
have
time.
the big thing on that, and they're like, oh, now all of a sudden Jason thinks he's important. No, I don't. But the position is. But friends, this has been a lot of fun for Scott Cantrell and Ben Young. My name is Jason Michaels. This has been the International Brotherhood of Magicians official podcast, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care.